All right, I want to cover some tips and tricks surrounding Essix retainers. My go-to for an Essix retainer is possible when the person has the tooth still. For example, the one that happens more often than not is somebody comes in with either a crown or a bridge that has broken off at the gingival margin and it's non-restorable. And what you can do is take that and just put it right back in the mouth, maybe tack it in place with a little bit of flowable composite, and then do an intraoral scan. Then take that from them, print your model, and do your vacuform matrix over that model from the scan with the tooth in place. And then you can take their whether it's a crown or a bridge, and put it right into that tray. That way it's going to look just the same as what they came in as. One trick with that is that from the lingual side of their prosthetics, drill a pretty decent sized divot into the back of that crown. That way when you do your vacuform matrix, it goes into that and creates a little bit of retention. But in a situation where the patient does not have something to give you, okay, either they never had a tooth there or they had a tooth but it's not ready to come out yet, and so you have to digitally extract it and then go back. And so you can see what I mean, that there's some situations that might merit you doing it this other way. And the concept, put simply, is you print two models, one with the wax up or their teeth and one without. And so obviously at this point we've already done a wax up on this case. We did that a few videos back. And so this one right here, if you take these two and you combine them and then export them out as a single STL file, you can send that to the printer and now you have this model to go off of. What I'm going to do is make a copy of these. I'm going to go back to the original. I'm going to combine those. So that's my original set of teeth. And on the original set of teeth, let me hide these ones. I'm going to hide this one too. On the original set of teeth, what I would do is go into your sculpting tools, and under I'd use this draw one, and either create a bump like this, and you want it to be kind of aggressive. Me personally, I'd rather hold down Control and just hold down the a little bit like that, about that size. So see, I've got these divots going into the teeth, just like so. That is going to help with retention. So you could do this, but then their tongue might notice that. And so you could go ahead and put some more like that. And that's what I was recommending you do if that you have their crown, is to create a divot beforehand. So I'm going to escape out of there. So that model you would print as is, okay? And then what we can do is hide that and jump back into these ones right here. And so with these ones, what we want to do is use the wax up to make a boolean into our model. And that way we can create some really nice pontic spaces, because if you notice right now, if I were to hide this model, these pontics are kind of funny looking, okay? I didn't spend a lot of time, I was just trying to make them look nice. So let me show you a trick. If we turn this back on and we go into our select tool, we have our teeth selected, but if you double click on anything overlapping them, it will actually select anything that's overlapping. And you don't see it unless you turn this model off. And see all of that? All of that was what was overlapping. So I'm going to hit Control G to save that so that I can look at it while I'm fixing these areas. So I'm going to go back to sculpting, and let's start with this one over here. You can see that I had pulled that out to fill an embrasure space. I can leave it, I can not, I can add a little bit more out here to kind of thicken this out a little bit. I can also think, I probably overdid it, and the pressure from this is probably enough to kind of encourage the gingiva to go up. And the idea here is I have the draw, but as my secondary brush, which happens if I hold down shift, I have my robust smooth, okay? And so I'm holding down shift right now. Notice the strength's pretty low. I can bring that up, and now it's better. So I'm coming through and smoothing this out. Create some contours just a little bit more favorable. And if I make the brush a lot bigger, but I bring the strength down pretty far, I can, a little too much. But notice that my colors aren't changing, or they're staying connected to the triangles that they originally were. So every now and then you may need to turn your model back on to make sure you're still happy and you didn't overdo something. The whole reason I turned the colors on is to try to avoid overdoing something. My computer's thinking. I don't know what I did. I think I hit too many buttons at once. Okay. I'm not sure what I did. Sometimes when you use your keyboard shortcuts and you're not paying attention, you hit keys you shouldn't be hitting. So I think that's what happened. But right now I am smoothing out this pontic, which was arguably more than it needed to be. This one actually looks fine. This one's maybe a little too deep. The other thing, with the way that I'm showing you how to do this, we're going to be essentially in the end doing a Boolean difference. And we're doing that to create nice gingival contours for these little pontics that we're going to make from the bisacryl. But what we have to be cautious of is these areas right here. Any area like this where it's going to go into the model, that's a problem. And so what we need to do is turn back on our object browser. We'll go ahead, let's see, this one. First off, that is not the right one. There we go. So see this right here, this is what we're trying to change. We're trying to create a nicer contour to our models using these nice pontics that we've set. But it's showing us that there's some contacts throughout here that, like right here, it was touching, it was overlapped. So I like to use the drag, and notice I still have this one as my secondary brush, but I can come in and I can click, and you got to go slow with this one because it's pretty aggressive. But I can drag and then I can pull it over. You can see that gap. I want that gap. If it was like a crown I was making, I wouldn't want gaps like that. But for this kind of a thing, I do want the gap because I want to ensure that whatever I make fits. Holding down shift to smooth. That's better. The other thing that I want to show you, for this one right here, I'm going to do it a different way. So that's one way that you can work on those contacts. Another way, I'm going to go ahead and hit escape. Another way is to use the model itself to almost create like a Boolean into it. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to go under my edit. I'm going to go to make solid. And I'm going to make a new model on top of the original, but I'm going to turn on this accurate, and I'm going to go ahead and kick this up to 200, and kick the next one, mesh density up to 200, but then this is where the magic is this offset distance. I'm going to put it at maybe, what do I want, 0.05. Let's do that. And then I'm going to hit update. And the idea is we're going to make a model that's slightly larger and use that, at least the teeth part, to cut into our model. All right, so we're going to go ahead and accept this, but we don't want to use the entirety of it because we don't want to ruin our Pontics, because this would create a funny looking Pontic. We just want this tooth pulled out of it. So I'm going to hide this, and I'm going to go to this one tooth right here. I'm going to start off, we're just going to do some plane cuts. I'm going to start off pulling right through here. Okay, we only need that tooth. We're going to hit accept. And then I'm going to come to the front here and do a plane cut. Notice what I'm doing is I'm just clicking and dragging. And notice how I'm angling it in. And make sure that you flip this so that that side is kept. I'm angling it in as much as I can. This one is a little bit more straight through. So I'm going to start off by going right about there. Flip it around. That looks like I'm not going into this tooth. So I'm going to do like that. So now if you look at my, I don't remember which, there we go. So if you look right here, it's going through the teeth, but it's not going through anything else. And so I can click on the teeth, hold down shift, and click on the Boolean difference. And that's going to use this to cut into the teeth on either side. See that? I'm going to hit accept. And notice we've got some funny contours in here. We can come in with the sculpting tool and we can change that a little bit, but note that if we go in and start doing too much, we will potentially undo what we just worked to do. So one way that you could do this is make a copy of the one that we used to cut into this, that makes solid one. Or we can, I mean, there's the wrong one. There's always, you know, adjusting at chair side as well. So let's say we're happy with this, okay, and we want to do a Boolean difference. What I recommend whenever I have teeth like this, because it's STL, 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 and those are overlapping, normally it doesn't work. You can try it. We'll try it here. But normally when you have overlapping STL files involved with the cutting side, see like right here, this is a very good example, is this got all messed up, and I'll show you why. There's a couple other things I noticed. One, we've got these little pieces floating out here, and two, there's a hole right here. So let's go ahead and hit cancel, and there's a couple things I want to do to fix that. One is I want to go to my model here, and I want to change some of these contours. Remember that we never extracted this tooth virtually. So I'm going to go into my sculpting tools and use my draw. I'm going to shrink this down some. I'm going to hold down control, and I'm going to just shrink some of this back away from this tooth. Something like that, okay? On the bottom where that's poking through, I'm going to go to my smooth. I'm going to make my brush much larger. I'm going to uncheck volumetric. Volumetric means that if my brush goes through, and you can see out here on the facial that it's going through, it would also smooth there, which we don't want. And so you can see I'm just coming through like this. And really I only have to do it until it's not showing right there. So I'm going to hit escape. And then the last thing I want to do is, because these are all in a row, I'm going to come to this one, expand to connected, and Y to separate it out. So now I can do a Boolean with these three, and they're not touching each other like this. Obviously this has to, the tooth has to touch the model, but the teeth aren't touching anything. And so I can click here, hold down shift, and let's see how it goes. Doesn't always go smooth, but it did go smooth there. And so we can go ahead and just look. You can see it cuts in a little bit, but we don't know if that's cutting in to the actual tooth or to something else. I'm going to go ahead and hit accept. We can always adjust that crown to create a bit better. And you notice right here we've got a little spot. We'll fix that in a little bit. I'm going to click here, hold down shift, and do another Boolean difference, and then hit accept. So sometimes when you do Booleans, it creates problems, and that's just a problem. And if it's one problem, then that's an easy. All right. So then, just to clean things up, I'm going to hit Control A, Control Shift and G, and that's just going to turn off my teeth. So this right here almost becomes a template for those Pontic provisionals that you want to make. So you have these two models, okay? I'm going to go ahead and grab this model, and I am going to drag it up a little bit just to hit this idea home one last time. You're going to take these and you're going to print both of these models. You're going to take this model, and on this model with the divots, you're going to take that model and you're going to do your vacuform matrix on that one. And then you're going to take the vacuform matrix, you're going to fill the areas where the Pontics are, where these fake teeth are. You're going to fill those with your Bisacryl. You're going to Vaseline the crap out of this model or else it will stick. And then you're going to go ahead and put it together. If you're worried too much about it sticking, you could also duplicate the printed model into stone and do it that way. But that's the idea, is you use this and this to pre-make an Essix retainer ahead of time. So enjoy.